Yo, it's JP. It's bigger than law, people. It's bigger than law. I'm not going to talk today about technical legal strategies or how to put claims together, the EOC process, discrimination, retaliation, non-competes. I'm not going to talk about the doctrine today. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. And a lot of people, they don't like that. They don't like that with me. They say, put your suit back on, boy. Right? Put your suit back on. Shouldn't you be billing hours? Okay? I'm going to tell you what it's about. Okay? For me. And yes, I do believe that I have some unique understanding of what it's really the fuck about. Okay? But I'll just start here. And this is going to be wide ranging, but there's a lot of important truths here about life and about society and about the world and about this and what it's really about. It's about more than the law. Over the past 12 years, our law firm, Pollard PLLC, which I started myself, sole practitioner, more than 12 years ago, it's about more than the law. I understand how law works in America, right? It's like you get into law, you shake the right hands, kiss the right babies, make the right friends, make the right connections. Everybody's always talking about that, right? When I started my own firm, everybody's advice and guidance was, right, kiss the right asses and make the right friends, glad hand people, stroke them off, get people to refer you work, right, getting good with the judges, this, that, and the other. And so the system, right, the system puts itself forward, and they have this holier than thou. Oh, no, it's all on the up and up. Everything is transparent, it's fair, it's equitable, the rules, yes, everything else. But that's bullshit. That's bullshit. The legal system in America is rampantly dysfunctional and sometimes nakedly corrupt. I can point you to numerous examples. You read the papers, right? We have judges with undisclosed financial conflicts of interest. You don't even have to go back more than 20 or 30 years, and you got cases with judges getting suitcases of cash, And so the system, the establishment, the power structure, the powers that be, the entrenched actors, they are fighting tooth and nail to hold on to their power. And as wild as it may seem, as fantastical and as idealistic, because I am no starry-eyed dreamer, okay? I am no starry-eyed dreamer. When I was teaching high school in Baltimore City, they had this one campaign that they would do where they would just write hope on trash cans. And I will never forget, there was a coach, I forget what he coached. There was a coach named Mr. Smith. And I used to kick it with Mr. Smith. We used to talk about everything. We were on the same plane of existence. And one day we got to talking about the trash cans that said hope. And we were both like, motherfucker, hope ain't no strategy. Better be out there changing that hope to say, find a way. Find a way. Fucking hope. Here's some hope for you, right? But so as naive and idealistic as this may sound, one of the biggest weapons or tools we have in the struggle for justice. And there is a struggle for justice, okay? We've gotten so far afield from that. We've gotten so far away from that. People are all twisted up, and social media and TikTok and Twitter and everything else and Facebook and grievance politics and identity politics and just all this shit. And it's so far away from the struggle. Like the actual struggle is still going on. Poor people, working people, black people, sick people, old people, abused kids, right? Just the struggle. There is so much evil and so much darkness and so much dysfunction and so much corruption. And that's because everybody is a fucking sellout. Everybody's got a price. Well, I don't got no price. That's because I didn't have much to begin with, you know? I didn't have much to begin with. I mean, I go back, I think about my life, right? Like, I remember at one point my life was like, my dream was like, just to like, have a job and be able to pay the bills and not have to worry about money and be able to go home to a nice quiet house where nobody was screaming and fighting, right? Like, that was my dream, Have a little yard, quiet house, play some music, relax, you have plenty of food, you don't have to worry about like, you got to make ends meet and pay the bills, but you're not in a constant panic, like, just survival crisis. That was my dream. You know what happened? You know what happens? People get into law, they get a little bit of success, they get a little bit of money. And then their dream becomes to get a bunch more money and then become the power structure. That becomes their dream. Well, that's not my fucking dream. It's never going to be. That's not my dream. People come to me all the time, big companies, people with millions and even sometimes billions of dollars, and they want me to work on stuff. And it's just, and I don't agree with it philosophically, ethically, morally. And I'm like, no, thank you. And they're always so shocked. They're always like, you could have made so much money doing this. Yeah, at the cost of my fucking soul, because people do have a soul. Okay, and I don't care what your religion is, what your creed is, what you believe. Everybody's got a fucking soul. It's right. We're all floating around in the ether. We're all connected. We're all part of this thing, this world, this universe, and we are all accountable. We are all accountable. And maybe you can skate in the legal system because you have the right? Maybe you have a lot of money, you have a lot of power, you have friends in high places, you get away with whatever. You might skate. But that's just right here and now. That's just right here and now. Don't ever underestimate the universe. Don't ever underestimate legacy. And what you pass on and what carries over and what crosses over. Don't ever underestimate that, because we are all accountable. We are all accountable. It's about more than law. And so many people got that twisted and they were confused because they thought like that I would just go get my bag, right? I was supposed to get your bag, make the right friends, join the power structure, and then you get out of this. Democracy, the people, the struggle. No, I wanted in the struggle. I wanted in the struggle, but I wanted to be in the struggle and have the tools to actually make a dent in the system and make an impact and make things better and help people. People are shocked. I've been on the phone with certain people and they're like, fuck, Pollard, you are like, you actually believe all this shit. Like, you are a true believer. You don't take dirty money. You really are on a mission. Yup. So what's it about? And kind of all started when I was seven. So my father was, manic depressive and disciplinarian, authoritarian, some would say even abusive, certainly by today's standards, And black people, like, we got to stop with this, like, I beat my kids because, that's how my parents did it and that's how their parents did it, and get a switch off the tree and then somebody in the neighborhood would beat you. Like, black people, I don't want to fucking hear that anymore. Okay? I don't want to fucking hear that anymore. My dad used to beat me with a belt and sometimes a dog leash, okay? You know how long that fucked me up for? You understand that? So I don't give a fuck if your parents and their grandparents and somebody got a switch, like, just fucking stop. Stop putting your hands on your fucking kids. And then country white people do the same thing. They're like, spare the rod, spoil the child. Shut your fucking face. Get your hands off your fucking kids. If you need to beat your kids in order to gain their cooperation, then you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Facts. Facts. I was a high school teacher in inner city Baltimore. I am a father myself. You don't need any of that. You don't need any of that. And psychology, like clear as day, there is no case for beating your kids. So y'all motherfuckers, and the thing is, I just said it. Black people do it, and they do it. My mom, my dad, and then white people are like, spare the rod, spoil the child. They all do it. You're fucking your kids up. You're fucking your kids up. Because it fucked me up for 20 plus years. It fucked me up for 20 plus years. But then in second grade, when I was 7, I also had this teacher. My God, I had this atrocious teacher. She was like the Wicked Witch of the West. And she would scream and she would yell and she was mean and she was nasty. And anytime you tried to advocate, right, for something being more fair, or you'd point out something that was wrong or unfair, she would laugh at you. She would mock you. I remember multiple times, where I would say, well, that's not fair and that's not how this should be. And she would say, well, that's just the way it is. And I would say something like, well, somebody should change that and make it better. And she would say, who's going to do it? You? And then she would cackle. And then she would do this other really weird, creeped out shit where she would have 2 kids every class period come up behind her desk and massage her shoulder and give her back rubs, right? People did this shit today. Like, the ramifications, right? But when I grew up, small town Pennsylvania, like in the 80s, man, just how it was, right? Just how it was, And so I had to do that one day and creep me the fuck out. And I will never forget, like, I was standing up there, some other kid was standing up there, 7 years old, right? So we're having to give her back rubs and shit, scratch her back. And I just looked at this other kid. It was a girl. I forget who it was, but it's a little blonde-haired white girl. And she was just like this, just totally clueless. And I was like, even then, right at 7 years old, I was literally like, don't you understand how fucked up this is? And I was like, after that, I was just like, I refused. If I was drafted, right, or encouraged to give the back rubs and the shoulder massages and shit, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I got my disciplinarian, authoritarian father who by 7, it was clear that he hated me. My dad hated me and was terrified of me because he understood what I was. And the wild thing is, like, I grew up, I became a father myself, and I I'm not going to say I found religion in the sense that I don't really believe in organized religion. But I grew up, I had a son of my own. I got close to God, and I went back and, basically like, it's like Jadakiss said, I guess I got to be the man and sit down and work with them. I didn't know how to deal with my father until I became a father and became a good father. Not a great father, but became a good father. My dad never had a father. And so then I kind of like had to, be a dad to my dad, And in spite of all the things he did and all the mistakes he made and everything else, like I love him, and I am of him and I love him. And I have a much different understanding of his journey, that he took throughout his life. I'm not excusing him, but I understand it, and I've become more gracious because grace is the most significant thing we can ever extend to anyone. But so here I am, right? So I got this, so my dad, I've got this teacher who is, a screamer and a witch, and she's just on some other shit, and she's always mocking me and, trying to cut me down. And then, right, then I learned about race, okay? I learned about race, because I didn't really, at 5 or 6 or 7, I didn't really, think a whole lot about race or really understand race. And I certainly didn't really understand racism until one day on the playground, this little punk motherfucker who was a year younger than me and a shrimp, he called me a nigger. He called me a fucking nigger. And you know what? At the time, I'd never heard the word before. I had never heard the word. I didn't know what the word meant. But I knew that he hated me. It wasn't just that he disliked me. It wasn't just mean. It was hate. Like I knew, somehow I knew, oh my God, this kid hates me. And it goes beyond anything and everything that I've ever understood or conceived of in the world. He hates me on a primal, fundamental level for who and what I am, not for something I did. And so I went home, I went home. I told my mom. My mom was like, oh, my goodness, right? So my dad comes home. I told my dad. My dad was like, right? I'm going to go down to that school right now, and I'm going to talk to that, right? And that's the thing, man, right? So for all this shit with my dad, like, I gotta respect the fact that, like, my dad was like a fucking, in his own right, my dad was a crusader. I remember one time, one of my sister's friends had run away from home. Okay, she was going through some shit with her parents, and she came to our house, and like my parents were like, yeah, you can stay, you can hang out, right? You need to get something to eat, take a shower, whatever, help you out how we can. And the cops showed up because I don't know, but the cops had somehow gotten word that Jenna might be at our house. And so the cops showed up. White police officers. Okay. They showed up. And they came to the door, and so my dad opened the door, and my dad's like, can I help you, gentlemen? And they were like, we need to come in here. We hear you're harboring a runaway. And my dad was like, it's my house, sir. It's my house. There's no exigent circumstances, no crime in progress, no crisis. I didn't call you for any help. You have no warrant. And this cop got fucking out of sorts. This cop got out of sorts with my dad. They took my dad, right? They took him out. And I think, the thing is, I don't know if they took him away or if they just took him over to the car and harassed him and badgered him and then cited him. I don't know how it all went down. I was pretty young. I forget. All I know is they cited him for like interfering with the police investigation and a whole bunch of other trumped up shit. They cited him on several counts, okay? And so my dad defended himself. He defended himself in a small town in Pennsylvania. Blue collar, mostly white. And he went into court himself. And a lot of times, right, so cop write a ticket or whatever, they won't show up. Well, the cops fucking showed up. 2 of them showed up, right? Wonder why, right? Wonder. Of course they're going to fucking show up. You wrote a ticket to this black man, okay, who didn't let you go into his house and said you need a warrant in a small town in Pennsylvania, late 80s, early 90s. Like, yes, you're going to show up if you're the cop because you're going to fuck with this guy. Well, they showed up. But you know what? They wish the hell they didn't, because that judge was like, if you ever, right? Not to my dad, to the white judge, right? White judge, 50, small town. He was literally like, if you ever bring another citizen in front of this court on trumped up charges like this, I will have your badges and I will have your career. So the prosecutor threw it out. Told my dad, I'm so sorry, sir. Right? So you can already see, right? You can already see, where this comes from. Okay? But so, fast forward, But that was my first experience with like naked, hateful, vicious, in-your-face racism, where it was just like, oh my God, what do you... People hate other people for, right? But because of like the color of their skin or something like that. And I didn't understand it. Then by the time I got to junior high, I was president of my junior high school class. There was all kinds of like race riots and shit in my junior high. All kinds of race riots. And then, fast forward. I had plenty of ordeals with racism, with crooked cops, I remember one time I got pulled over on a junior license, and I think my junior license expired at 11 o'clock, and I got pulled over at like 10:40. I was with my buddy Larry, white kid, long hair, hippie, and he was like, oh, it'll be fine. We got plenty of time, right? We're only 10 minutes from home, because we lived in the same neighborhood. And I was like, no, we're not going to be fine. And he was like, what do you mean? They're not going to? I was like, yeah. They're going to have us sit here for 20 minutes and then write me up. They fucking did it. They had us sit there for 20 minutes and then he came back. I will never forget this fucking punk, smug, 30-something-year-old white, red-faced officer was like, now, I could, be real strict on you and call your folks and tell them they had to come get you. But I'm just going to write you a citation for being on the road after your junior license expired, since it is 11:02. And, you pay the fine. I'll let you drive home, right? I had a big hair. I had the afro for a while. I had dreads for a while. The guy was just getting it in on me, right? Getting his get back, right? One time I went to visit one of my friends, lived a couple towns over in a real nice neighborhood. I had dreadlocks. I got pulled over and they had 2 cop cars show up and they had a drug dog. The fuck is that, right? I was a teetotaler, straight edge, normcore. I didn't touch any of that shit. Because, I had relatives who've gotten really mixed up in like the hard shit, like heroin and stuff like that. And it like derailed their lives and destroyed their lives. And I didn't touch any of that shit. I was scared straight, And then on and on, right? I was teaching in Baltimore City. I was teaching in inner city Baltimore. One day there was a massive riot. This is like the fucking most notorious riot in Baltimore City school history. Cleared the fucking school, the whole school, spilled out into the parking lot. Shit's popping off. This is the one where I got sprayed with the industrial mace and then I was on the news and I got a little bit bloodied up. But after it died down and we were trying to get the kids back into the school, there was a kid who threw a battery. It was like a AAA battery. He threw a battery at the cops, right? It was not a smart thing to do. But so the cops rushed this kid and they took him down to the ground. And one of these cops, again, look, I'm sorry, man, right? I'm just calling real shots. The shit popped off in Southwest Baltimore City, okay? So Southwest Baltimore City is right down there in a corner near Catonsville, okay? And so they dispatched, it was like a 5-alarm, like Southwestern High School. The whole school's emptied out. There's a massive riot. It's a brawl. Somebody set a fire in the school. Shit's popping off, okay? So a lot of departments responded. And Catonsville, being right there in the southwest corner of Baltimore City, Catonsville got there real quick too. So Catonsville was there. Because there's a lot of black cops in Baltimore, so you had, the cops showed up from Baltimore as black, white, whatever, and then Catonsville showed up, and the cops from Catonsville, it was like fucking, the cops from Catonsville were were the cops from Catonsville, okay? And some of them, just like 25, 28, 30, 35, white, red face, looking terrified, like they'd never seen any shit like this in their life. And then when the kid threw the battery and it hit one of those cops, like, again, totally not appropriate, okay? And like there could be consequences for that, but like they took this kid down, and this one probably, mid-20s, 25, 26-year-old, chubby white guy, red face, he cocked back his leg to kick this kid. Not on my watch. I got in his way. I stepped in front of the kid. I was like, whoa. I was like, excuse me, officer. And I had my hands up because I didn't want to fucking get right. I didn't want to get, I don't want to get banked. Okay. But I had my hands up. I was like, whoa, officer, right? And then they grabbed me. Okay. And then they grabbed me. And then they took me like to the side, and they all surrounded me. And so like everybody's going back into the school, okay? And the kids are all like, they got P. No, what's going on? They got Mr. P. No, they don't let him get him. They can't get him. They can't take him. Like, right? Like, and I was like, it's cool. Just everybody just go back in, listen to the other teachers. It's cool. I will sort this out, okay? Because like my kids, like at that point, my kids were like fucking, right? Like my kids were ready to go on account of like they couldn't take me, I love you kids, right? I love you kids. You're all big now, and some of you are dead. And it's I couldn't do enough to save them. I couldn't do enough to save them. I failed, and I couldn't do enough to save him. But I tried. I really tried. But I couldn't do enough to save them all. I'm sorry. I couldn't do enough to save them all. But I had so many kids who were just great kids, They were great kids. They never had a chance. I'm sorry. They never had a chance. And so they got the kids back into school, and the cops were had me surrounded, and they were talking about like taking me to jail, so arresting me. And they're all screaming at me and, getting in my face. And so at a certain point, like I told her, and you got to remember, I was like 23. And I was a fucking crazy person. I was a crazy person. I mean, I was just like, what are you going to do to me? What's the world going to do to me? Right? And they were in my face, and they were screaming and yelling about they're gonna arrest me and take me to jail, and they get me fired. And eventually, I told them. Eventually, I was like, "Okay, gentlemen, you gotta either arrest me right now and take me to jail, and I'm gonna call a lawyer, okay, or you gotta let me go back to class. I have a class to teach. You can't just stand here and detain me and get in my face and badger me. It's going to be one or the other. So you either arrest me now or you let me go." Well, those punks realized the jig was up, and they let me go. So I went back into the school. I went back into our class, Fast forward. And there's a bunch more fast forward. There's a bunch of other shit, That's what it's about, That's what it's about. You got so many people out here in America that are just like, they just get their money. They just get their money. They just get their money and fuck over everybody else and lie and cheat and steal. You got big companies that literally kill people, you know, in the name of their profits. Just naked profiteering, extract more profits. It doesn't matter who lives or who dies. Just get more profits. As long as me and my people are good and my crew is good, just get all the money, get everything and fuck everybody. Those kids, who cares what happens to them? It's not my kids. Well, they're all our fucking kids. They're all our fucking kids. And to quote the great James Baldwin, or paraphrase the great James Baldwin, if I am starving, you are in danger. How long will it be before our world and our society understand that? If you are starving, we are all in danger. Except for the very top of the power structure, the top echelon, right? The masters of the universe. They're not in danger. They control everything. They're building bunkers and stockpiling 100 years of food supply and all the technology so they can try and cryo-freeze themselves and put their brains in, like, you know, computers and live forever. But outside of that, like, tiny upper echelon, all the rest of us, right? 97%, 98% of all the rest of us, right? Like, you get these people who don't understand. You see it, you know, it's so interesting, right? You see it where it's like you get these people who are lawyers, right? They go be a lawyer and they do a bunch of dirty shit and they push a bunch of corrupt corporate paper, and then, you know, 35 years go by and they're in their early 60s and they get diagnosed with cancer, and then their insurance company denies them treatment because it's too expensive. And then they have an epiphany where they're like, but I'm one of you. I'm a rich corporate lawyer. I'm one of you. Don't I get? And they're like, no, you're not. You didn't understand where you were in the pecking order. Because to them, you're just a pissant nobody. And then these people get religion, they get spirituality, they start doing yoga, start talking about namaste and everything else. And it's like, yeah, that's great, okay? But I'm not sure you get a pass for 30 or 40 years of doing a bunch of dirty shit. I'm just a messenger. But that's how society is, right? Where it's just like nakedly lying, cheating, stealing, destroying other people in their lives in the name of profit and money and power. That's really what America has devolved into. And I'm not bullshitting that. I'm not making that up. There is so much greed, corporate greed, corruption, dysfunction, everything. And America in so many silos has devolved into a scam. Educational industrial complex, scam. Prison industrial complex, that is what it is, right? One time in Baltimore City, you know, I went to a program or seminar where I learned the wildest thing about how the state of Maryland was constructing or modeling for future prisons at the time. In their model to account for how many more prisons they should construct and when they should construct them, one of the factors that they took into account was 8th grade literacy. So if the kids can't read at a certain level by 8th grade, we can project we need more prisons. Some folks got a vested interest in making sure a bunch of kids in 8th grade can't fucking read. And I know it sounds like wildly conspiratorial to so many people, right? And they're like, oh, Apologist is a crazy person. Bro, I'm drinking flow water, okay? I am as sober and sane and lucid as I've ever been in my life, and more so. It's just that the thing really is, it really is what we thought it was, right? It's literally become so blatant and so naked and so in your face with all of the corporate machinations and the greed and the corruption and everything else. And these people, they get away with it and they know it. And they will point blank tell you that. They will say, you can't stop us. We're too powerful. Sure, we killed, we our products or whatever, or, toxic this or insurance company denial. Yeah, we might have killed people, ruined a lot of lives, right? We have shareholders. You can't stop us, right? You can't stop us. We have shareholders. We donate a lot of money to politicians. We know a lot of powerful people. So that's what this is about, in case you were wondering. Happy weekend.